Hi, my name is Rick Bloodworth, and today is day 6 of the 90-day challenge to study through the New Testament. Today's study consists of Matthew chapter 16 through Matthew chapter 18, and it's a passage in Matthew 16 that I really would like you to consider today. It starts in verse 26, where Jesus says, "What will it profit a man if he gains the whole world, yet forfeits his soul?" And then he asks the question, or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? Well, think about that for a moment. What do people try to give in exchange for their soul, often without even realizing that they're doing it? There's a book called A Life Well Lived, and in that book the author gives an example of a man who has a heart attack, and after he has been put under the anesthesia for his surgery, he has a dream, and in that dream he dreams that he's died and that he's going before God on Judgment Day. Well, this man is a very important man. He's a wealthy man. He really hadn't had much time for God in his lifetime. May have went to church every once in a while on Sunday, but he really wasn't that serious about it. As a matter of fact, he didn't have a lot of time for his family or his friends or his God. About the only time that he had available was used in work and in the accumulation of wealth. And so in his dream of Judgment Day, he dreamed that he was called before God's judgment throne in this large room. And in that large room, all the things that he had acquired during his life were brought in, from the first car that he had to the first house that he and his wife had bought, to the projects that he worked on in his business that was so important to him. And then as success started, the country club where he had his first membership was brought in, and then his first boat, and then another boat bigger than that, and then the big house that he lived in at the current time, and all the nice cars that he had accumulated. And in his dream, as he looked at all these wonderful things that he had acquired, he thought, "I'm a rich man. I've done very well." And then he heard a voice that came that said, "And now the test of fire." And in a moment, everything that he had that was before his eyes was burned up in just a small pile of ashes. Well, the man was just sobbing and frustrated at his loss and thinking of how futile his life had been when it came down to the test of fire. And then he woke up after the surgery and realized it had been a dream, with a determination to do something different, to do something better. Well, 1 Corinthians chapter 3, Paul talks about this very test of fire. He tells us we need to be careful about how we build our spiritual houses. He wants us to make sure we build it on the foundation of Christ. But after we start building our spiritual lives, that has to be done in the right way, because there's going to be a test of fire at the end, as Paul puts it. Well, how would your life stack up at this test of fire, do you think, on the Judgment Day? Do you think that you will be pleased with the results, or do you think that maybe you have some work to do? You see, the fact of the matter is that as we go through life, many people it seems, are trying to gain the whole world, but they lose their soul for it. And sometimes we're even trying to exchange our lives for something, or our souls for something that we really don't care about. There's a lot of people that go to their jobs and they hate their jobs. There's a lot of people who just go through their lives and they're not satisfied with the way that they're living, and they're not happy about that, but they're actually exchanging that, which they don't even like, for their soul. You see, this is why we're studying. We want to find out what God wants us to do. God is the one who created us. He's the one who created the world. He knows how this world will work at its very best. And if we'll just go to His Word, to the Bible, and find out how He wants us to live, we're going to find out that we can live for Him and have the joy that we thought we would get by serving the physical things. There really will be a test of fire someday. How do you think that your life will stack up during that test? Well, I pray that God will richly bless your studies. I hope you're enjoying them so far. I hope it's having an impact on your life. And tomorrow we're going to look at Matthew chapter 20 through, or Matthew chapter 19 through 21. And I think you'll enjoy that study as well. But for today, we're looking at Matthew chapter 16 through 18, and I pray that God will richly bless your study.